Well, this was one of yesterday's drawings. One of which was the pastel ones, and got me into a kind of a different way of thinking. The outcome thing for me is just the outcome. It's not, it's not really. I mean, I kind of would measure the outcome as a win or lose, or however you want to describe that. But for me, it was the doing. It's the doing that's the winning or losing. If I have to fight with something, I said yesterday, if I have to fight with a medium, then I'm not interested. I just want to, and I want an easy life. I've said before, it's lazy and impatient is my mantra. How long did it take to do that? Weeks. Somebody the other day was showing the speed up process, and it was literally just drawing hair like that. And they said, "Oh, I hate doing speed ups, but nobody wants to watch me draw hair for days." I'm thinking, wow, I can't get my head around the fact that people would spend days drawing hair, because I'm bored after an hour. You know what I mean? I'm done. Let's move on. But and that's the main reason, I suppose, that I mean, ultimately I'm a believer in that you connect with someone, and the speed at which you connect is light speed, and I want to respond as quickly as I can in order to capture that moment where I respond and feel that face, and maintaining that empathy, that connection with the subject is that's the thing I fight with most. I don't care about getting the eyes in the right place. I care about whether I'm feeling that person. That's what I care about, because I think that's what portraits contain. They contain what you feel about them, which is why I like portraits, because there's no other medium or no other subject that really is about your connection with it, your response to it. I suppose landscapes could be like that, and maybe animals, but the problem is with both those things, they are easily turned into productions. So it's how well you produce it in a pretty way, or it's how well you produce it in a representative way. So and if you can get both in there, then absolutely fabulous. You've made it look pretty, and you've got incredible detail, every leaf on the tree. You know what I mean? I went back to this thing of taking months to do something. I just can't. You know what I mean? If that's how you are defined, that you spent months on this to get the leaves in the right place, then I don't get that. I mean, the being different thing is, I'm going to draw this lady here. Another. I don't like things that are well lit, or should we say, lit in silhouette almost. This sort of contrasty half face thing. Just one single source. I do like that. It just gives me something to draw, and it's not as. I think in a way that guy yesterday, the lighting on him was fairly flat. You can see just fairly flat, and so. But I do like the one I want to do now, that kind of lighting. I tend to look for those kind of images, using the latest batch of charcoal. So we'll see what it's capable of doing. I used a bit of it yesterday, trying to be a bit more frugal with it, because I'm a little bit wasteful, I think, at times with the charcoal. So which is why I was sticking it in the clutches, in the bamboo clutch thing. I put it in there. That piece did all. I think I did all those drawings yesterday. So, but putting it into this, I just get the most of it, and I've just snapped it off anyway. But it's too small. But if this gets small, I'll stick it in there. There's a couple of ideal for going into the clutch, but they're a bit too long at the moment. Anyway, so this being different thing, they're all, everything's connected in a way. This, your outcome, your response, your skill levels, your likes and dislikes. This is all part of the being different thing. You can't I don't think, if you don't accept the difference between what you do and what others do, except there will be difference, but people don't, people generally don't want to be different. There are ways of drawing faces. There are ways of painting portraits. There are, that you see everybody does it. There's thousands of people do it in the same way. There's nothing different about them at all. And I don't think that has to be a radical difference. You could argue, as someone said the other day, that they chose a more classical approach, but they didn't. They wanted to be different in the way that they applied that classical approach. They actually weren't different. It didn't happen. I think that's probably because the whole intention was scuppered by the fact that they chose a classical route. You can't help but be a classical painter if you paint in a classical way. It makes sense, doesn't it? But this is I think the problem that I find with people is that their solution. See, the thing is that I've just said about connecting with the subject. If you are able to do that and respond to that subject and realize that that's the most important thing you've got, skill is irrelevant compared to that. If you do that, whatever the outcome is, if it is different, and if you do it in a certain way that is different, it's again irrelevant, because the most important thing is your individual response. That's it. It's not somebody else's response. It makes what you do unique and in a way different. But the trouble is, it's hard for us to accept that difference, because it doesn't look like anybody else. It doesn't look as good as anybody else's. It doesn't look the same as anybody else's, and that's hard. That's hard, because it's like, look, this is brilliant. Everybody, watch this guy paint. He's brilliant. These are what you should look at. This is what I call paint. Look at this sergeant did this. Saw somebody this morning doing a let's look at sergeant's technique kind of video. I do hate those sort of things. It's like, I think it's disrespectful. Oh, he just did this. This is all he did. Oh, well, if we do that, we'll have exactly the same outcome, won't we? Maybe, I know that's a bit extreme, but it just feels like that. It feels like that. Let's take it apart to find out how it works so we can build it up, better. It's a bit like the London Fashion Week. They say that, don't they? Just by the time the fashion's got off the catwalk, somebody's made it in China. So it's like, and it's just, it just, I don't know. If you're truly a creative person, then you wouldn't stoop that low as to say, oh, I'm just going to take a sergeant apart and find out how he did it, so I can do it. But they wouldn't say that was the case. Obviously, they'd say that, oh, it's just respect. We want to know out of just simply respect for what he did, to bask in his magnificence. But I don't know. I think it's all part of this being the same as somebody's defined sergeant. And there's no doubt that his work was magnificent for all kinds of reasons. But it doesn't mean to say that yours isn't, right? That's the thing. And I don't think people get that at all. This being different thing. Just because yours is not like someone else's, your work's not like somebody else's work, doesn't mean to say it's inferior in any way. And people, as I said, people can't get that. And it proliferates, in the art world, because people maintain that there is a stock answer, a stock way of doing things that everybody should do. And if you don't do it that way, then you don't know what you're doing. And the reason your work doesn't look like everybody else's is because you don't do it the same as everybody else. But for me, I just fight all that. I fight that compliance thing. As you can tell, I'm not somebody wants to be in the gang. I don't want to be the same as everybody else. I think that's probably most artists would deep down say that. But unfortunately, the majority will want to comply and want to be, accepted. That's another thing about being an artist. Being accepted is a requirement. And we've all suffered from that as an early age. They talk about political divides in families. Being an artist can divide a family. I keep thinking about the guy that did the famous Snowman books, the illustrator. And you know what? I'm going to look at my phone and tell you what it is. I can't remember it. No, I'm not. I'm drinking my tea. Hold on. And it's called like Albert and Mildred or something. There's an animated story of his life before he wrote the Snowman. When I say wrote, I use the term loosely. Illustrated was primarily what he wanted to do with it. So he, the famous sort of scene of him wanting to go, because he was, I think he's passed away now, I think. Pretty sure he has. But he wanted to, he was about my age, a little bit older, but maybe 5-10 years. And there's a scene where he goes to his parents and tells them he wants to go to art college, and they go into meltdown over this. Oh no, he wants to be an artist. Like he'd come home and he said he'd committed a terrible crime, and so that's the kind of division and ultimately the reason for this desire to be accepted. Because everybody else, they don't accept you for what you go back and tell. I had the same problem. So, and many more people like me had the same problem. Why don't you get a proper job? My mother was a careers advisor, so she wanted me to be an electrician or something, electrical engineer, because I was a bit into sort of electronics and stuff. I was into everything, but whatever could be turned into a job, basically. So this thing of being different is really hard. It's really hard, and it's a tightrope of that you walk. It's like, when you're designing things, you want to be a different kind of designer. You want to create something that serves meets an objective, and for the client, and at the same time, and stands out because difference is good. But at the same time, in design terms, there is. Particularly in the graphics world, there was, and probably still is, a terrible style-focused approach to things. The right typeface, the right papers, of that time. You only have to look at the time I was doing it with sort of Neville Brody and the influence that he had. It became a stylized typography thing. But you can only be different once, and that was what. Brody did. He was just different once. After that, he was the same as everybody else, and everybody else was the same as him. So, and that's the dilemma, I suppose, in a commercial setting, that you can't continue to be different, because every time you are different, people join. If it's successful, people join in, and I suppose that never. See, the thing with doing this, it's static. There is sergeants or Soroya or whoever, some of the greats who defined a difference. The Rembrandts that defined a difference, but that then became the standard, and there was no more difference because nobody else after that. And now what we have is people that are different for the sake of being different. That's not the same thing. The if the conclusion of what you do is different, not by choice, just simply because it's the way that you see the world, that's good difference. But if it's different because you want it to be different, that's bad difference. And that's as hard as a choice as choosing to be the same. Choosing to do exactly the same as everybody else. It's just as hard. If you have a decision or a determination to stand out, to be different, I don't think that's something you should do anyway. Just to say, I want to stand out from the rest. If you're in that kind of mindset, it's not really good for an artist. Artists just want to create work. You know what I mean? You just want to draw and paint and just, show the world what you see. That's all you want to do, and what you feel. That's all you want to do. If it's the same as everybody else's, fair enough. If it's different, great. But either way, you can't beat yourself up and say it doesn't belong because. It doesn't belong because I can't, I can't do it the same as everybody else. I'm not as good as everybody else. The usual sort of self-destructive thinking that we embark on every now and again. But I think that's the thing. Once you accept that, whatever it'll be, it will be you. And if that's different to everybody else's, great. If it's not, great. It's not a, you win both ways. When I was looking at yesterday's drawings, and I was thinking, today when I draw something, I'm going to be really, really deliberate in the positioning of things. I'm going to really be really precise about that there and that there. And there. You know what I mean? I thought, that's what I'm going to do when I draw it. And I'm still meandering around. I'm still wandering around trying to find the locations of things. I'm still doing it that way. I can't. I got past when I first started doing this. It was very considered. I would be every mark, even though I was working quite rapid. You would see those early attempts, shall we say? But I was focused on it. Now it's almost like I'm not even looking, and that's weird, that, isn't it? It feels as though the act is completely detached from what I'm doing. What I'm talking to you about stuff, and it's completely like somebody else's drawing. So I'm almost like a spectator, and it concerns me. It concerns me that I'm disconnected from it, and I think I shouldn't be. I should be fully engaged. I should be fully engaged with this. But then the other part of me says, no, you shouldn't, because it seems that when I'm engaged with it, it becomes, it's cursed by the influence of others. This the doing side of things is manifest. The stuff that people talk about, the relationships, the standard relationships. I always relate this way, and all of that kind of seeps in. And when really all that matters is the observation and the relationships that I see. That's all that matters. And I do catch myself thinking now. I've just thought that. Then I'm thinking the distance from there to there, from there to there, from there to there is a little bit short. I do catch myself thinking that, but that's when I'm conscious about it. The other times I'm mostly not conscious of it, and I'm doing it automatically. I'm kind of autopilot job. But at the same time, I think that's probably a good thing anyway. You know, I don't think the act of being creative is a logical thing, or should be a logical thing. Which is why I think people become dependent on styles, you know, to answer a question, to answer it. And you see, very stylized. I said yesterday about that young lady who was doing the graphic, the gouache stuff, very stylized and safe, because she developed that style, and so she can slip straight into it. It's like a warm bath. She can never. And then we're back to this being different thing. Had this person's style been different, then I probably would have thought more of what she was doing, but it was a recognizable style, which obviously she learned from replicating other people. And it's back to this not wanting to be different thing. So now she produces work that is the same as everything else I've seen. Like some of the watercolorists that paint in a style that I've told you before about the 70s style, the 70s illustrator style. They're painting that style, and it's like detail. And it's like accurate replication, photo replication. Those are safe areas. You're never going to get people criticizing you. Maybe if you were talking to people who didn't appreciate the detail thing, maybe you would. But generally, if you do a highly realistic and photorealistic solution or piece of work, you're gonna get some good response to that. Which is again back to that fear of being different thing. Someone turns around and says that's not drawing. You're not drawing. That's not how you should draw. Someone turns around and says that to you. You kind of like, but I want people to like what I do, you know. And that's the fundamental, I think, that we suffer from. That we want people to like what we do, and it's hard to get away from that. You got to like it. It's this. You've got to be like that. If it's born out of wanting to please, and this is me. I mean, if you would listen to one of my rants about why I stopped, that was my number one problem. I wanted people to like what I did, because I've been told for so long it was worthless. So I wanted to prove to people that it wasn't worthless, and for them to like what I did. So praise became my goal, I suppose. I think that's a lot of artists have that, though. I don't think it's just me that. I think a lot of artists have that need to be praised. Why would they not? Why would they enter many exhibitions as they do, so many as they do, when really it's it can be a quite sort of self-destructive act. I was listening to that guy talking about galleries and things, and the importance of galleries. I'm not sure I agree that they're vital. I think they've made themselves vital because of because artists tend to just want to make work, and because that's what they live for. We all live for this moment of creation, which is you know, that's a primitive, primal thing, isn't it? We live for the moment. In the moment of creation, we want to be in the moment of creation, which is where true creativity exists. Only at this moment, only at this time. So we're busy doing that. So we're going to sell. How are we going to feed ourselves? So galleries are there for that reason, and they do what they do. I mean, according to what the guy was saying yesterday, I think they kind of, I don't know if he was saying this, but they kind of exploit their situation. You know, they take advantage of artists. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but certainly they're in it for the money. So yeah, I think that if there were places where I might be wrong, but when this guy was looking at the freeze thing, and I thought that was my recollection of the freeze thing was that it was Damien Hirst and his other people from his year were looking for somewhere to show their work, and they went and did it in some derelict old building, and that was how it all started. So, and it was because galleries wouldn't show their work. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the truth or just an urban myth thing, but that's what I read. I think there was money involved. I think Saatchi was involved in it as well, but I can't remember. I can't remember what I read. But so that was an anti-gallery thing, not necessarily because it was anti-gallery, but just because the galleries wouldn't show their work. I think that's probably common of a lot of artists' experience. Jackson's, my son's friend, runs a gallery in Sheffield, and he tries to show as much work. Bear in mind it's contemporary work, and bear in mind that there is kind of niche, and so therefore the people that do show in that kind of gallery would always struggle because it's different. It's not, they live by that discipline, not necessarily, and some of them are just because to be different is their way, but some of them are it's just a different. I'm not sure that, they probably think too much about it, which is generally what I find with a particular generation of artists that trying to analyze what they do too much and justify what they do too much in order to, but that's a fault of education more than anything else. But as I said, the difference thing is part and parcel of their definition. They're defined by their difference. But I always say this, and it's like, I'm just drawing faces, and how all this fits with this higher opinions about fine art and things. It seems a bit out of overinflated. But the thing is that this is, as I'm saying about difference, this is my way of approaching this. And if it seems to be overinflated because I'm thinking of it as a higher art, then so be it. But this is my way of thinking, my approach, as I said, being accepting that I'm different and I think about it different. That's part and parcel of who I am. It means that whatever I do, I look at it in context of me, not in context of someone else. No one else, whether someone else likes it, whether it meets someone's criteria, don't care. All I care about is fundamentally doing it, and then also whatever I do, as long as it's pure and my response to something, then I'm happy with it. I'm not happy when it becomes about the equipment, which is what you saw me whining about yesterday with the chalk, with the pastels. As soon as the medium becomes the most important thing about doing this, then I'm not happy with that. It doesn't. I can guarantee that I'll not be happy with the result. It's like trying to, when you're working with mediums that want to make you work for your corn. It's like drawing with that one arm tied behind your back. It feels like that. It feels like I'm tethered in some way because I've got to make this. Do this. And well, if you like the guy said the other day when he was talking about a friend of mine's got some Prismacolor pencils or whatever, and the first thing he said is it's going to take some doing to master these things to get to get the best from them. And that again is for me, I just think that's just making it unnecessarily hard to find your voice, to find the thing that makes you sparkle. But again, this is back to the difference. You see, everybody uses these pencils. Everybody uses these or draws in a particular way, you know. And you see all those things. So if they can do it, then surely I can. Well, whether they can do it or not is kind of irrelevant. They may have found that those tools suit the way that they work, and they're able to, you know, manifest their creativity with them. But it may not be you. And being, you know, sort of beating yourself up over the fact that you can't do it, but what you do is something completely different. That's wrong. But it's hard. I talk about this stuff as if you can just switch it on and off, but you can't. You know, you're always going to feel those external pressures to do it like somebody else. I feel those external pressures, and when people tell me that I don't know what I'm doing, and you know, that's the kind of establishment that's filtered down and been absorbed by somebody who then decides that they're going to impose that will on me. But as I said, it's common, and we all suffer from that. Anyway. Yeah, I think that's just about right. I think it's just about right. I'm going to fix it. I'm a bit close to it. I know I always talk about this where I get too close and I can't measure properly if I'm too close. So I'll misalign things, or I'll make them too wide, or because I'm too close to it. And I think that's what I've got to look at. I've got to look at some of the alignments are okay, some are a bit off. I think if I'm looking at, you know, if you're looking at the alignment issue, you know, when people talk about tilts and things, for me, it's always like, imagine a scanner, you know, the literal sort of desktop scanner thing. What it does when it does, you know, that bar moves down, right, and it does that. It's doing that all the time. Just think of it in those terms, and think about if you look at horizontals on the drawing. If you look at on the reference, rather, you look at the reference alignments, right, and you look at them as a horizontal thing. Look at the way that things are actually aligning, right? So you've got an eye there that aligns with the top of that eye there and the bottom of the eyebrow. You know, you've got like horizontals that you can make comparisons with. I mean, obviously, you've got to think about widths as well. So, and those are, as I said, if you're too close to it, those are the things that will suffer. You know, the things that because you're too close. Because what happens is, as you get closer, your vision does that. So you want to be in a point where you've got you can see, you know, the normal kind of peripheral type of conical vision, but you don't want that. You don't want to be so close to it, because if you're so close and trying to be draw freehand, unless as I say you've already drawn the outline, traced it, projected it, whatever. But if you want to be freehand, too close to it, will create a distortion in your measurement. So this is why painters, you know, you see sergeants standing back and 3 meters away from his work and all that. That's why they do it, because you get that. It's not just about, is it composition right? It's about getting things in the right place, because you can see the objects and their relationships more clearly. You can measure more accurately. So I've been a bit close to this. So there's a measurement there that is not quite right. And it just means moving the eye a little bit. So the eye is more. So there's that bit there that has to move to about there. Then that has to move to there. And then the eye has to move a little bit further that way. I've got to get rid of the highlight at the top, because it's throwing my measurement again, the highlight there. And then the eyebrow being a little bit lower down. But as I said, being too close often ends up where I don't quite get the widths right. You see how it's changing now, you see. So that's the kind of thing I'll do most of these things anyway. You can see the whole thing now starts to feel a little bit more it feels happier, if that's just not a strange word to use, but it does feel like everything's getting along a little bit better. There's a problem with too much density in places, or not enough, as there should be in there like that. One of the problems with working with on a screen is it's backlit, and the shaded areas that in normal life would seem so dark that you couldn't see the edges of things are illuminated from the back, so they're going to look a lot lighter than what they should be. So I often find that I'll like the ear, for instance, the ear is hardly visible in there. It doesn't stand out at all, but it's standing out because it's backlit. It's illuminated from the back. So I say there are little things like that need, you see, all of a sudden it starts to feel right. But there are little things like that, and the other thing about charcoal is because of this depth of tone. You know, you can see how the depth of tone. You can, you know, in the eye, for instance, there you can underestimate what the odd dark line within the dark areas can do, and how visible it can be. But that's something that, you know, I think you got to exploit if you're using charcoal anyway. It's not just a case of endless blending. But yeah, much better up there. Still a little bit too like that, but it was a little bit too big underneath it. But that's about right where it is now. Yeah, so as I said, being different is, and you can see me when I talk about the stuff I talk about, you can see how difference is a part of what I do, and accepting that difference is my thing, you know. Right, I'm going to leave you, and I'll catch you later. We've got a lesson later, so I'm going to find some nice references, and I'll see you tonight.